Top stories tonight. Nigeria's 36 state governors meet in Abuja to discuss new minimum wage and local government autonomy. Authorities at Dangote say no cause for alarm after fire outbreak at a section of the refinery in Lagos. Former Kaduna State Governor Al-Rufai sues State Assembly for defamation over alleged misappropriation of 429 billion naira. Kenya's President William Ruto withdraws financial bill following days of deadly demonstrations in the country. Many thanks for joining us. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Let's begin by telling you that governors under the aegis of the Nigeria Governors Forum are currently meeting in Abuja on the proposed minimum wage and local government autonomy. The governors had recently expressed concerns about the federal government's proposed 60,000 naira minimum wage for workers, warning that it is not sustainable. They argued that implementing such a wage would result in many states allocating their entire monthly federation account disbursements solely to salary payments. They urged the tripartite committee to agree on a fair and sustainable wage. On Tuesday, the federal government announced that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would engage in further consultations with the governors and the private sector before deciding on the new minimum wage. The former governor of Kaduna State, Al-Rufai, has filed a defamation lawsuit against the Kaduna State Assembly on Wednesday at the Federal High Court in Kaduna. Al-Rufai demanded a public apology from the lawmakers who published a report that claims to defame him and his cabinet on the alleged misappropriation of over 423 billion naira during his 8 years administration. Al-Rufai's legal team argued that the report is both false and malicious, designed to tarnish his reputation and discredit his administration's achievements, asserting that the allegations had caused significant harm to his person and professional life. The former governor stated that his personal or developmental policies were efforts to improve infrastructure and education in the state. He maintains that the Assembly's allegations are politically motivated and lack any substantive evidence. To discuss this further, I'm joined by legal practitioner Tunji Abdul Hamid. Tunji, thank you for joining me on the news at this time. Now, let's get straight to it. Can you explain the concept of fair hearing as it applies to the allegations leveled against the former governor by the Assembly's ad hoc committee?
Yeah, fair hearing simply means that party in a case or must be given an opportunity to be heard. In other words, you must not hear one part and leave the other. Both parties must be given an opportunity to come and state their own position of the matter, and that is guaranteed under our Constitution. Section 36 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended 1999, stated that look, in any matter or any tribunal or any cases or whatever, you must be given fair hearing. You must be allowed to state your case or position regarding the matter before a conclusion is made.
All right. All right. Let's talk about how significant the allegation that the loans obtained during his administration were not used for their intended purposes. And what, of course, legal implications does this portray or carry?
Well, what it means is that if they have an evidence that money or loans obtained during his administration were not used for the purpose, and they can substantiate the allegation, they have the opportunity, they have the right to take prosecute him in court, and which is, I think, one of the recommendations of the committee set up by the House of Assembly was that Mr. Al-Rufai and other alleged people should be prosecuted in court for those for misappropriation. So, but it's not automatic. The burden is on those who allege must prove. That is our standard of proof in Nigeria. If you are alleging me of corruption, if you are alleging me of any criminal activities or whatever, the burden is on you to establish that allegation. So Mr. Al-Rufai need not even say anything. If you are not able to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt, then that case will go. So the House of Assembly, the state or whoever wants to allege that Mr. Al-Rufai and his administration has misappropriated 423 billion naira must bring evidence before the court to establish that position. So probably the committee have looked at the books, and they've seen their evidences, or they've seen the document to rely on, and that's why they are recommending that it should be prosecuted. And just like they are recommending that it should be prosecuted, he also has the right. He has the right to defend himself, and one of his way of defending himself is what he has done now. He has gone to court to say, look, you set up a committee. This committee did not invite me, did not give me opportunity to come and defend myself, did not ask me question. There was no fair hearing. Therefore, my rights, as guaranteed by the under Section 36 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended 1999, was not has been violated, and therefore, once your right is violated by Section 46 of that same of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have the right to go to court to seek for redress. That section allows anybody or any person who alleged that his right has been violated or likely to be violated to approach the court for redress. And that's what I think he has done.
All right, now let's talk about procedural steps typically, needed to be followed by legislative bodies when conducting investigations that could actually lead to reports such as the one submitted by the Kaduna Assembly's, ad hoc committee. What are those steps that need to be ticked?
Yeah, every investigation that are good yield good results must consider all position of all parties. If you are alleging anybody, if you are alleging 100 people of any misappropriation, of any wrongdoing, those people must be called. They must be given a notice, and they must be given opportunity to come and state their own position regarding the matter. You explain to them what you have alleged against them, and then they will have to respond to those allegations. So if you don't give that opportunity to respond to it, that will be a breach of their fundamental right, according to, and that's what Al-Rufai is alleging now, that having not given him the opportunity before reaching a conclusion to defend himself, it amounts to his violation of his rights to fair hearing. So for any committee, for any processes to be proper, especially when it comes to investigation, the other party who is involved must be given the opportunity. It's not a one-way thing. It's not something one person will just conclude and look at the papers and look at the books and say, this is our conclusion. All parties must be given the opportunity. But if you have given the opportunity to them and they fail to appear, that's a different different issue. So you can also rely on the fact that, look, we have invited him, but he failed and refused to come or to honor our invitation. But you must extend that invitation to them. You must give them all the opportunity to come and state their own position. And that opportunity, that extension of notice to them may not be even one. It may be not be 2 or 3. You give them enough opportunity to come and defend. So when they refuse to come eventually, you can now proceed with your case and then they conclude without them.
All right, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, thank you so much for your time on the news.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
All right. Now, let's also tell you that a fire incident today engulfed parts of the Dangote refinery in Lagos. According to reports, the fire broke out in the early hours of Wednesday at the effluent treatment plant at the refinery. There has been no confirmation yet as to how the fire started, but video showed smoke billowing out of this section of the refinery affected by the fire. The fire has since been put out, and a statement from the company's spokesperson, Anthony, downplayed the severity of the fire incident. In the statement, Chijena said there is no cause for alarm as the refinery is operating and there is no recorded injury or body harm to any staff on duty. It is curious that this incident is coming just 3 days after the company accused international oil companies in Nigeria of frustrating its effort to access crude oil. Earlier, investigative journalist David Udein joined us on the news to discuss this.
The refinery itself hasn't been affected. So the company claims in its statement that it's the effluent treatment plant that was affected, which is a roundabout way of saying it's the sewage treatment facility, it's the wastewater treatment facility that has been affected by the fire. No further details have been given, so it's kind of difficult to establish exactly how a wastewater treatment facility can go up in flames to that extent, especially when eyewitnesses made mention of there being sounds of explosions. So, but we have to assume that the company is telling the truth. Now, if the company is not telling the truth and there is something else at play here, i.e. sabotage, then definitely that is something to be worried about, because for the avoidance of doubts, it definitely is in some people's interests for the refinery to not work if indeed it had the capacity to work, because historically it's been the case that as far as the economic model of Nigeria and Africa is concerned, some people prefer very much for Nigeria and Africa to export raw materials with as little beneficiation as possible, if possible, no beneficiation locally whatsoever. So
the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the intention of the man who detonated an explosive in Port Harcourt on Tuesday was to blow up the Presidential Hotel, a highly rated hospitality facility in the state. Governor Fubara said this during a visit by the Senate Committee on Privatization led by Senator Orji Uzor-Kalu to the government house in Port Harcourt on Wednesday. He said the failed attacker targeted the facility that was accommodating high-profile individuals, including the members of the Senate Committee, to justify the call for imposition of a state of emergency in the state. The Rivers State Governor clarified that he is not fighting anybody, but rather defending the state against predators and protecting supporters of the interest of the state against those who feel they own the life of others.
I tell you, we know everything that's happening. And you know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. We should be bold enough to look at the face of people and tell them the truth. I'm not fighting anybody. If I'm fighting, people will know that I'm fighting. My pattern will change. What we're doing is to defend ourselves. So far, it's defending ourselves. We can't just fold our hands. It's only a tree that will be standing and somebody will come out to chop him off. No, it doesn't happen as a human being. Once you know that danger is coming, you shift. So what we're doing is just to protect ourselves. So please, distinguished senator, I'm not fighting anybody. Somebody thinks or some people feel they own life. I don't own life. The person who owns life is God.
As everybody is saying that the governor and the former governor are quarreling. These things happen sometimes. But I would like to plead with you and plead also with the former governor that you people should take the interests of your people utmost in your heart. We will also go to, personally, I'm going to plead with Mr. President again to see how he can intervene and bring everlasting peace. I know here looks peaceful, but people going on streets every day, like some of my colleagues when they were coming, a lot of people trying to demonstrate here and there, and the politicians should not take democratic process for granted. We should not derail democracy. We should support democracy, because democracy needs to be supported. If we don't support democracy, democracy will collapse.
Nigeria's federal government launches a non-kinetic initiative called the Polaku, a resettlement initiative aimed at combating insecurity and also restoring peace back to the northwestern region. The Vice President of the country made this known at the recently concluded Northwest Peace and Security Summit, which was held in Katsina State, saying that about 51 billion naira has been already secured for the initiative aimed at restoring peace to the troubled region. Now, News Central's Amadine Uyi tells us more.
The recent summit, which held in Katsina State, had in attendance all state governors from the Northwest region, including Nigeria's former president, Muhammadu Buhari. The vice president of the country, who was representing President Bola Tinubu, says that the Northwest Peace and Security Summit, with a team in regional cooperation for securing lives and livelihoods in Northwest Nigeria, was organized to address security challenges affecting the Northwest region.
Our presence here is a communal gathering to address the afflictions that are threatening the stability and unity of this great house. I am honored to join you in reflecting on our path to extinguishing the fires we were elected to put out. The issue of national security in the Northwest is not a sectional agenda, We promise to make Nigeria safer, and this aim has been our topmost priority since we came to office over a year ago.
He says that efforts which have been put in place to combat insecurity have largely been successful, but called on all stakeholders to partner with government.
Through enhanced border security and intelligence capabilities, we have disrupted and dismantled criminal networks. Each of you here is aware of the high-profile figureheads of these groups neutralized by our forces. And I am here to share with you that this is just the beginning. We must also reverse the institutional priorities governing security and the economic dysfunctions that create vulnerabilities to crime. We must also counter the ideological mischief that has pervaded the discourse of peace and security in the region.
He also adds that the federal government has launched an initiative called the Pulaku Resettlement Initiative, aimed at representing its non-kinetic intervention with a focus of tackling violent extremism and insecurity in the Northwest region.
It is a timely solution to address some of the root causes of disputes and insecurity in the Northwest. Our choice of Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Zamfara, and Kaduna states, and by including Benue and Niger State for inclusivity for the pilot phase, is strategically planned to create positive nationwide transformations. The comprehensive plan includes building residences, roads, schools, and essential facilities, fulfilling our pledge to the nation.
The Vice President assured that government will continue to review its strategies as part of efforts to improve insecurity and ensure that peace returns to the Northwest.
Coming up on the news, 6 students drowned after junior WAEC exams in Kaduna State. We have details of this and more after now. If you have just joined us, you are watching Tonight. A reminder of some of our top stories. Nigeria's 36 state governors meet in Abuja to discuss new minimum wage and local government autonomy. Authorities at Dangote say no cause for alarm after fire outbreak at a section of the refinery in Lagos. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir Al-Rufai sues State Assembly for defamation over alleged misappropriation of 423 billion naira. Kenya's President William Ruto withdraws finance bill following days of deadly demonstrations in the country. Let's tell you that 6 students of government secondary school Fadan Chawe have drowned in Mbang River in Ribang village in Kauru local government area of Kaduna State. The unfortunate incident occurred at 5:30 p.m. when the students were returning from writing their West African junior exams in the state. Now, the victims are identified as Manasseh, David Danlami, Yahuza Audu, Musa John, Pius David, and Monday Ayuba. The National Public Relations Officer of Ribang Development Association disclosed that 3 dead bodies have already been recovered and buried, noting that 3 were missing as locals have not been able to recover them from the river. Let's move to health matters now, where the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has placed Nigeria at high risk as it activates its emergency operating center following a cholera outbreak that has now claimed 53 lives. News Central's Neomoni completes the report.
The cholera outbreak in Nigeria poses a serious public health threat. Nigeria, with the largest population in Africa, is currently grappling with a cholera epidemic. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, as of 24 June, 1,528 suspected cholera cases and 53 related deaths were recorded across 31 states and 107 local government areas, representing a case fatality rate of 3.5%.
It's not a figure that we need to be proud of, and I really believe that a lot can be done to keep that forward.
While the exact cause of the outbreak remains under investigation, Lagos State, which has reported the most cases, is probing various possibilities.
Street beverages are very common in Lagos, in Nigeria. It is what a lot of people consume on their way to and from work or after school. So it's not surprising that the number of a few of our suspected cases referred to the consumption of a liquid beverage. So far, we've tested several, and we haven't got any positive results back on cholera. We're continuing to test, hoping that we can maybe identify a particular source, but as of now, we've not been able to do that.
In response to the worsening situation, the NCDC has activated its National Cholera Emergency Operations Center as the federal government reels out containment and treatment efforts.
When you look at the magnitude of the problem globally, the shortage of cholera vaccine is a global issue. We don't produce the cholera vaccine here, and it's not produced even in Africa. So before we get to that point, there's some basic things that we do. Hand washing, better sanitation, hygiene practices, prompt treatment, and we have engaged the global actors who have access to those vaccines already to identify sources of those vaccines that we can use.
Data show that the outbreak may currently be under control. However, there is an urgent need to step up advocacy, encouraging the public to take greater responsibility for their hygiene and what they consume. Common environmental practices like open defecation, which is prevalent in Lagos, have been cited as likely contributing factors. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omani.
The Abia state government says it has reduced the operational time of tricycle operators in the state to between 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. This move, according to the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs and Chairman, Harmonized Task Force for Revenue Collection, Uzo Nwachukwu, is to check the rate of crimes perpetrated in the state using tricycles. This order will come into effect on the 1st of July 2024 in Umaya and Abia. News Central's Chinwe Ogele reports that the new policy has also elicited reactions from the transporters and passengers alike.
For everyone in Umuahia or Abia who doesn't own a car, the tricycle, popularly known as keke, has been one effective transportation system that not only conveys people within the city, but also to neighboring communities. The time restrictions stipulated by the government, effective by July, will certainly affect commercial activities, the economic status, social and official programs of the people, and even the state.
There's a levy we normally pay daily. So, and some of them are riding under high purchase.
Some people, like me now, I'm a banker, sometimes we close around 8, sometimes around 9. So I don't expect that when I finish closing around that type of time, I start trekking or I should sleep in the office. I don't know what to do now.
The Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs in the state, Uzo Nwachukwu, says the decision was reached with the support of the Keke Union leaders to reduce the crime rate in the state.
People who have the means to be able to invest in commercial buses, big buses and all that, to encourage. But we will also not allow anybody to use this time to conduct his own criminal activities because you have buses or do kapu-kapu and you also be able to contribute to the criminality in the state.
If the assertion of the commissioner is anything to go by, why are vehicles still allowed on the roads by daytime and at night, even though they are also used to kidnap, rob, and commit other crimes?
And this law now government made is not going to favor us because some people travel far away and come back by that time. How can they not go to their house by 7 o'clock? You said people should stop. Now somebody that has some money that for transport, he will not double it because if Keke does not operate by that time, they will double the fare, and it's not good. Everybody is complaining. The society is bad. The economy is bad.
The bad ones are very few.
The number of the good people outnumber the bad ones. So they shouldn't, because of the bad ones, say they want to restrict movement at that early hours of the day. Because when we talk of 6 p.m., 7 p.m. is still very early. People are still busy. Even some government workers are still there.
What becomes the fate of the people who close work late in the evening? What becomes the fate of the traders who also close from their shops and market late evening? The keke operators themselves are asking the government to also rescind its decision and take the time forward to a time where they will be able to meet up their daily obligations. In Umuahia News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
On Wednesday, activists and civil society groups across the globe came together in solidarity with the communities of Uganda and Tanzania to protest against the East African crude oil pipeline project. The project, backed by Chinese investment, has been met with fierce resistance from local communities who fear it will displace them and destroy their way of life. In Nigeria, our correspondent Marvelous Obumanu covered the protest by climate advocates at the Chinese embassy in Abuja, calling on the Chinese government to end its proposed plan to fund the East Africa crude oil pipeline project in Uganda and Tanzania.
The East African crude oil pipeline project is approximately 1,443 kilometers long and starts from the Hoima district in Uganda, terminating at the Tanga port in Tanzania. Due to worries about the project's possible effects on the environment and the lack of adequate compensation for displaced populations, the project is now in the eye of the storm, as environmental advocates say they want it halted.
Climate justice. What do we want? Climate justice. So why keep investing in a project like ECOP that is going to put the lives of millions of people in jeopardy, exposing them to the effect of oil spill and the likes of others, taking away biodiversity and our sustainability at large? So I'm going to say this without ambiguity. Stop ECOP now.
The project's impact on biodiversity and the environment, especially water resources, will also impact the livelihood of wider population who rely on the tourism sector and fisheries. The fisheries sector in Uganda alone employs over 1.7 million people directly and 3.6 million people indirectly, with Lake Albert and Lake Victoria contributing to more than 80% of the country's total fish production.
All we are saying is stop ECOP. They say if your neighbor shouts and you refuse to come out, when you shout, no one will come out for you. And so we are here for Tanzania, Uganda and Congo. But our message is simple. We're not here to fight. We are saying stop ECOP.
Climate advocates under the Stop ECOP coalition around the continent have called on financial institutions to distance themselves from the proposed pipeline. Some of them held a solidarity march at the Chinese embassy in Nigeria, calling on the Chinese government to end proposed plans to fund the project.
Chinese, please stop funding the project or stop signing whatever propaganda that's going to finance the ECOP project. We know that it's an investment for you, but there's an alternative. There are green solutions that can create jobs for the masses. Even the oil project that has been spanning across Nigeria and the South, the Niger Delta, only a few people are being employed. But if you think green and if you think sustainable, a lot of African youth will gain employment. But why ECOP? Why our lives? Why our farmland?
Funding a project that is estimated to lead to greenhouse gas emission of 379 million tons CO2 and bring serious stress to local livelihood is not the kind of climate or development partnership African people are asking for.
In a time where the world is moving away from fossil fuel and embracing renewable and sustainable energy, these civil society organization group gathered here at the Chinese embassy are calling for an end to the ECOP project. According to these groups, they are saying that this particular project will have a devastating effect on the life of the people of East Africa. Here in Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obumanu.
Also, News Central's Bongani Siziba covered a similar protest at the Chinese embassy in South Africa.
ECOP project moves forward, concerns about its impact on the environment and local communities continues to grow across Africa. It was a tense and dramatic scene as both sides refused to back down. These protesters were met with a heavy-handed response from the police, who attempted to push them away from the Chinese embassy here in South Africa. But the crowd held firm, undeterred by the intimidation. Their message was clear: China, hands off our land.
The Chinese, through its various state-owned institutions and companies, are playing a vital role in the development of the East African crude oil pipeline project. This exploitative, extractive, neo-colonial violence of ECOP, making it a reality in Uganda and Tanzania, and further exacerbating not only the climate crisis on a global scale, but also the socio-economic harm that communities are already reeling from.
Despite the challenges, the protesters remained defiant, singing and dancing in defiance of the authorities, chanting songs that they would not be silenced.
We need to mobilize entire Africa as a whole so that they can understand our struggle or our grievances.
They say they are fighting for the rights of their fellow brothers and sisters in Uganda and Tanzania to live on their ancestral land, free from threats of displacement and environmental destruction.
This project, it's not open for SMMEs in Uganda and Tanzania. It's only the government who has the share in that project. And then communities were never consulted. So that is a proof to say now communities won't benefit, because even the plans, there is no anywhere in the social and labor plans of this project where it shows that people will benefit in this project by employment or by using this gas to develop themselves.
They also called on the authorities in Uganda to stop harassing and arresting environmental activists.
These activists who have been arrested in Uganda, it's unacceptable the way they've been treated. Some have been arrested recently just for protesting at the Chinese embassy. Activists were arrested last year. They spent months in jail, mistreated, tortured basically. It's just unacceptable.
Meanwhile, authorities at the embassy did not come out to receive the memorandum. However, these protesters, this is not their first time braving the elements and facing potential backlash, as they have similar visits before. However, their resolve remains unwavering. They have vowed to keep coming back until their voices are heard and their demands are met. At the Chinese embassy in Pretoria, for News Central, Wangani Siziba.
We will bring you more African stories after the break. Stay with us. The news continues in East Africa, where Kenyan President William Ruto said that a bill containing contentious tax hikes will be withdrawn, dramatically reversing course after more than 20 persons died and Parliament was ransacked by protesters opposed to the legislation. But the president warned that the withdrawal of the finance bill would mean a significant shortfall in funding for development programs designed to help farmers and school teachers, amongst others. This comes as the East African nation struggles to lower its foreign debt burden. President Ruto's administration has been taken by surprise by the intensity of opposition to its tax hikes, with protests breaking out across the country last week.
And consequently, having reflected
on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024 and listening keenly to the people of Kenya who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill.
Let's join our business desk for today's business news.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business news, Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON, have confirmed a decrease in the price of aviation fuel following the commencement of operations at the Dangote refinery. This came after the association engaged in discussions with the management team of the Dangote Group to address the challenges that had led to the high cost of aviation fuel and subsequent increase in airfares. Since the removal of fuel subsidy over a year ago, the prices of petroleum products have soared. The partnership between Dangote and oil marketers aims to provide affordable fuel prices to consumers across major cities and airports. While the spokesperson for AON confirmed the price reduction, the managing director of Aero Contractors stated that he was not aware of any price reduction. JP Morgan Chase & Co. has identified Thailand, South Africa and Poland as the countries most at risk of experiencing capital outflows as India's sovereign bonds are set to debut on a key global index. Starting this Friday, Indian bonds will be included in JP Morgan's Emerging Market Index, gradually reaching a weight of 10% by March. While this inclusion is expected to bring in as much as $25 billion in inflows to India, it may trigger outflows from other emerging markets. The strategists predict outflows of approximately $4.7 billion from South Africa, $3.3 billion from Poland, and $3.2 billion from Thailand. These countries are considered the biggest losers due to the vulnerability of their non-resident holdings, market capitalization, and non-local bond assets of pension funds and commercial banks. And finally, in East Africa, Kenya's sovereign dollar bonds are experiencing a decline in value due to ongoing anti-government protest, which pose a threat to President William Ruto's $2.3 billion plan to balance the budget and ensure the country's debt sustainability. The nation's 2031 debt security has reached its lowest price since its issuance in February, leading to one of the poorest performances among emerging and frontier markets since the demonstrations began on June 18. The protests have resulted in casualties, causing concern among investors and contributing to the underperformance of Kenyan bonds. Ruto is facing limited options as he seeks to address a budget deficit and high interest burden while facing public opposition to further taxation. That's our offering on the business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Up next is sports.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Belgium and Ukraine played out a goalless draw in the Euro 2024 Group E match at the Stuttgart Arena on Wednesday. Belgium narrowly made it through to the knockout phase after qualifying second behind Romania in a tight Group E that finished with all four teams on 4 points. Romania qualified as group winners after a 1-1 draw against Slovakia at the Frankfurt Arena, while Slovakia qualified as one of the best third-placed teams. As it stands, Romania, Belgium and Slovakia joined Germany, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, Denmark, England, Slovenia, Austria, France, the Netherlands and Portugal to the round of 16. Phil Foden has temporarily left England's Euro 2024 base in Germany to return home due to be present for the birth of his third child. Foden, who won the Premier League Player of the Year for his role in Manchester City's title triumph this season, has started all 3 of England's games at the tournament so far. Gareth Southgate's men have progressed to the knockout stage as Group C winners, but failed to live up to the hype as pre-tournament favourites in draws against Denmark and Slovenia after opening their campaign with a 1-0 win over Serbia. Foden is expected to be back with the group by Sunday when the team play next in the last 16. UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira has ruled out a possible return to middleweight for a third fight against former champion Israel Adesanya. Pereira and Adesanya have one of the most intense rivalries in combat sports, which includes 4 fights across kickboxing and MMA, with Pereira leading the series 3-1, twice defeating Adesanya in kickboxing before transitioning to MMA, where they met again in the UFC. Pereira is set for a rematch with Jiri Prochaska on the 29th of June, while Adesanya is preparing for a return from a lengthy break with a showdown against current champion Dricus du Plessis, scheduled for August 17 in Australia. Anthony Joshua is set to take on Daniel Dubois for the IBF heavyweight title at Wembley Stadium on the 21st of September. Undisputed champion Alexander Usyk yesterday vacated the belt, which led to interim champion Dubois being elevated to champion status. Two-time world champion Joshua is on a 4-fight winning streak and has 3 stoppages in his past 3 bouts. Dubois has won his past 2 fights, stopping Jaromila in December and Filip Rovic in July to become interim champion. Dubois has won 21 of his 23 fights, while Joshua has 28 victories and 3 losses. They have a combined 45 knockouts. The winner will put themselves in prime position to fight the winner of the Usyk versus Fury rematch. Emma Raducanu saved the match point on her way to knocking out world number 5 Jessica Pegula to reach the quarterfinals at Eastbourne. The 21-year-old wildcard had never won against the top 10 opponents before. She rallied from a set down against Pegula and saved the match point in the second set tiebreak before battling to a remarkable victory. Raducanu's win continued an impressive day for British women's tennis on the South Coast as Kati Bouta moved past former French champion Jelena Ostapenko with a confident 6-4, 7-5 victory. And that's a wrap on Sport Update. I am Odoka Njoko.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Up next is entertainment.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And now in entertainment tonight. Surprising news, Nigerian music mogul Olamide has announced a new project earlier today via his social media accounts. The announcement came shortly after he made an unexpected appearance and performance at the wedding of Nigerian superstar Davido and Chioma. The newly announced project is a 7-track EP titled Ikigai, a Japanese term meaning reason for being or life's purpose. This marks a significant and unexpected return to music for Olamide, who previously hinted on his X account in 2023 that his last album, Unruly, might be his final project. On Ikigai, Olamide featured several prominent artists. YBN's sensational singer, Fibroid DML, and Ashake joins him on track 3, titled Uptown Disco. He also collaborates with former YBNL affiliates, Fields, Young John, and Lil Kesh on the closing track, Synchro System. Before officially announcing Ikigai, Olamide teased a snippet of a song on his Instagram story, which has now been revealed as track 5, Hello Habibi. This teasing strategy has generated substantial excitement and anticipation amongst his fans, eager to hear the full project. Ikigai will be Olamide's 10th solo project and the 15th overall in his extensive discography. And now, amidst ongoing protests against the finance bill 2024, renowned actress Lupita Nyong'o voiced her support for the Kenyan youth. Her message follows a chaotic day in Nairobi where protesters breached parliament, causing significant damage and escalating public outrage. President William Ruto's response to the event has only intensified the situation. Lupita Nyong'o expressed her admiration for the unity and demonstration and determination of the Kenyan youths in opposing the Finance Bill 2024. She stated, "I salute the Kenyan youth and I am grateful to them for coming together in an extraordinary way to stand up against the problematic Finance Bill 2024, as well as to defend and promote the democratic rights of the Kenyan people." Acknowledging the tragic loss of lives during the protest, Nyong'o extended her condolences to the victims' families. She says, "I am extremely saddened that lives have been lost in the process, and my thoughts are with the victims' families." She also urged the Kenyan government to address the protesters' concerns, emphasizing the need for peaceful unification and good governance. She concluded her message with the hashtag Reject Finance Bill 2024 to underscore her stance.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Away from entertainment to what's trending. The Kenyan government has retracted the controversial finance bill. The president of the East African nation, William Ruto, in a press briefing withdrew the financial bill after the deadly protest that rocked the country. The peaceful protest was met with some violence after police interfered, causing several harm and unfortunately reports of 13 deaths at this time. Here are a few of the reactions on social media. This one by Mepuri says, "How can you call the people who elected you into office dangerous criminals? Now he has been forced to succumb to the same Gen Z he called dangerous criminals." Another reaction says, "Oh yeah, he listened because he wants to save himself and his business. Kenya's Gen Zs is determined to push for hashtag Ruto must go, and tomorrow's planned protest was targeted at burning his hotel and occupying his home." Another tweet from Sadiq Adams says, "Kenya Gen Z, you guys are heroes." And finally, another tweet by Miss Gaki Kobia says, "This is a lie. People don't believe his lies. Tomorrow we march." Well, of course, our hearts go out to the families and those who were hurt during the process. Well, that's much we can take on trending. My name is Sam Dandy, back with the rest of the news.
Many thanks for that, Sam Dandy. And that's all on tonight's news. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's 36 state governors have met in Abuja to discuss new minimum wage and local government autonomy. We also told you that authorities at Dangote have said no cause for alarm after fire outbreak at a section of the refinery in Lagos. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir Al-Rufai has sued the State Assembly for defamation over alleged misappropriation of funds. Kenya's President William Ruto has withdrawn finance bill following days of deadly demonstrations in the country. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms: DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Good night.